Those old bones of his aren't going to get much warmer than that. And he certainly doesn't need food. However, I have got a ton of wood. In fact, my house is threatened, and I should be more careful about grabbing wood off the wood pile because that is a snake skin. Okay. Greetings. Welcome to Board Game Science. I'm your host, Dr. Ransom Poythress from Houghton University, and I'm here with my able-bodied assistant, Nathaniel, who will be helping me out on occasion to explain these games. And I'm thrilled to be able to talk to you today about the board game that sort of launched board gaming, and that is Settlers of Catan, or Settlers, or just Catan, which was originally released in 1995. The board game was designed by Klaus Tuber, who was a dental technician in Germany at the time, and he spent about 4 years tinkering with this before he finally released it. And since then, it's had massive success. So probably about 30 million copies of the game have been sold in 40 languages. There is a World Championships Catan tournament that happens every 2 years, usually, well, frequently at least, in Germany. Events around the playing of Catan have gathered more than 1,000 people at a time just to play. The game itself has got several expansions and so on and so forth, but we'll be mostly talking about the base game today, the most basic part of it. It is a 3 to 4 player game, and I want to just briefly go over the rules, and then we'll talk about some of the science behind it. So let's talk about how it's played. So there's some initial setup that you can do, both a beginner setup and a more advanced setup that you can find in the rulebook. I have this set up for a 4-player beginner's setup. One of the beauties of Catan is the simplicity of the play. The rules are actually really straightforward. When it comes to your turn, you take 2 dice and you roll them, and then you add up their joint values. So in this case, it would add up to 11. And then every tile on the board with an 11, here or here, if there is a settlement or city that is adjacent to that, basically collects that resource. So for example, in this case, the player who's red would collect the wheat resource, one of the wheat resources. Red also has another one here, so they would collect a second wheat resource. And then the white player here would collect a wood or forest resource because they're connected here. And that's it. So even if it is not your turn, you could still potentially be benefiting from someone else's roll if they roll something where you have a settlement or city. However, if it is your turn, you get to do some extra things. Once you have collected your resources, you then have the option of spending them to buy things. And it's, again, pretty limited. There's a little building card here with that's got all of your costs for all the things you can do, and there's only 4 of them. So it's not a whole lot. You can build a road, and there are rules around where roads can be placed. You can build a settlement, and there again, there's rules around kind of where that can happen. You can upgrade a settlement into a city, or you can buy a development card, one of these cards over here, which have some extra benefits. They can either provide you with victory points or that kind of thing. And you basically continue to do this once your turn is done and you have built, and the next person rolls and collects resources and buys. And you continue to do this until somebody hits 10 points. And so different cards and different cities and different things have different values. There's 2 special things called Longest Road and Largest Army that are worth victory points to whichever player is holding those cards at the time. Then as soon as somebody hits 10 victory points, the game is done. So there's a couple of other things involving trading that I haven't talked about, and the robber, but those are in the rule book. But that's generally the way the game is played. You roll, you collect resources, and then you just buy something, and you keep going until somebody wins. And that's how it's played. So I said that's how the game is played, and that is mostly true, but not completely true. I have in fact left out a critical component of the game of Catan that it really helps to set it apart from other kind of your more classic games like Monopoly or Risk or Sorry or things like that. And that is the trade or barter component. So on your turn, when you get resources, you can then actually interact with other players and you can offer them trades. You can barter with them and say, I have something that you might need and you have something that I might need, and so there can be kind of a mutual benefit kind of thing. So Nathaniel here is going to help me out with this. See, he's got some wool, some sheep, and he's got a lot of it, and I don't think he needs it so much. Those old bones of his aren't going to get much warmer than that, and he certainly doesn't need food. However, I have got a ton of wood. In fact, my house is threatened, and I should be more careful about grabbing wood off the wood pile because that is a snake skin. Okay, I have got a ton of wood around my house, and I don't need this much wood, but I don't have much place for sheep or wool or that kind of thing, so I need some food. And so I've got excess wood, he's got excess sheep, so maybe we can make a trade. Hey Nathaniel, would you be interested in trading my wood for your sheep and wool? Yes, that's true? Awesome, let's go for it. So I will take that, and there you go, buddy. Appreciate the help. So we can mutually benefit each other this way. And so he's probably advancing in terms of his ability to move forward in the game, and I'm also advancing in terms of my ability to move forward in the game by getting the resources that I want. We tend to forget that bartering is a thing. We use currency now, but that's still a relatively new invention. The first metal coins were probably printed around 700 BC in China. Paper currency didn't really make an occurrence till about 1,000 years later. And of course, now we use things like credit cards and digital formats and those kinds of things. But bartering is the way things have been done for a really long time and still have been. And so there's a realism to this. There's a social aspect to this game, to this system that is really appealing and really enjoyable for people. In fact, Klaus Tuber, as he talked about the way this game came about during his 4 years of developing it, he'd envisioned it as this idea of what would it look like for Vikings as they're trying to settle in Iceland. What would they actually need? And some early versions of the game had some really complex mechanics, some extra things. He talked about the ability to upgrade from cities to metropolis even at one point. But in the end, he really stripped things down. And I think that basic elements here really add to the simplicity of play, the ease of access of play for people. And there's a sense of the brutal realism of it as well. So you need things like wood for fire and shelter. You need things like sheep for wool, for clothing, for food. Ultimately, you would need, other than just the meat, you need the grain, you need the wheat. The brick will help things like transportation and building. And then of course the ore and the stone is the step up that you'll need for the cities and some more advanced kinds of things. But those 5 elements are really pretty critical core elements that you would probably need in any kind of settlement or any kind of early development. And so I like the realism of that. I like the feel of it. I like the simplicity of it. I think the simplicity of it adds to something and makes it really interesting. It would be kind of cool to see that there's a desert tile on the board that produces no resources. It would be kind of cool if down the line that produced like oil or something like that, and that had some other benefits. There is a raw realism to it that is really attractive. So that's great, and that's kind of the sciencey part of it. Thanks, Nathaniel, for helping me out today. And thank you for watching this. Hopefully you enjoy this video, you enjoy this game if you get a chance to play it. And we'll look forward to sharing more with you. If you like this, hopefully we'll have some more content coming out along these lines. Just go ahead and subscribe to this, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks.